Firestarter is the 2022 new adaptation of the Stephen King novel that came out. There was also a prior film of Firestarter. Hey, how's it going there, Jake? How's it going there, man? Jake Hudson, he does a Twitch show, does a lot about all about wrestling, all about that stuff like that. So that's what he covers. Interested to hear what you think about the Sasha Banks and Naomi situation. I don't know if you already talked about that already, but interested to hear your perspective on that. But like I said, so Firestarter is the new film based on the Stephen King novel, the new adaptation of that. This is directed by Keith Thomas. Like I said, there was a prior Firestarter film all the way back in 1984 that was starring Drew Barrymore, very, very young Drew Barrymore back in the day. So that was pretty cool. So in this film is all details a little girl with powers, and those powers include pyrokinesis as well as regular telekinesis. And telekinesis is the ability to move things with your mind, and pyrokinesis is the ability to summon fire with your mind. And she comes from two parents, Zac Efron, both of which, have powers as well. Zac Efron in this movie has a form of telepathy. You can basically make people do what he wants to do with his mind by looking at them. Also, he's married to, who's the actress who plays his wife in this? Let me see. She is.
I think that actress is Sydney Lemon.
Sydney Lemon. Okay. Yes, you are correct. It is Sydney Lemon. And she also has powers as well, due to them being experimented on all the way back in college. And when they show them back in college, you see they try to make them kind of look younger by giving them kind of bad hair. Like you see Zac Efron's got like a weird ponytail and everything like that, trying to really make them kind of college age, everything like that. And
it's like they rated the Tyler Perry backlot for wigs.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, that's kind of pretty much what it looks like. And they're kind of in this facility. And the people that kind of experiment on them was this group known as the Shop, as it's kind of described. This kind of government agency that was kind of testing people to see if they can experiment on people, to see if they can give them powers. And then they end up having a child. And they ended up kind of running away from the facility that was controlled by the Shop, and basically been on the run their entire lives, from these people looking over their shoulder. And you see kind of them being on the run, they have to kind of sacrifice a lot of normal things that people do, things that when, now that the main character Charlie, the girl who can, summon fire with her mind, when she goes to school, like she can't have she doesn't have internet, she doesn't have a cell phone, basically normal things that a family would have because they are on the run. And you see as she's kind of gotten older, her powers are starting to reemerge. Before you see glimpses of that when she was a baby. And I will say kind of there's a little bit of a kind of a rift between the two parents of how to raise her, because Zac Efron's kind of the mind that, hey, you got to suppress the abilities, kind of dig them all down deep. But the wife,
conceal, don't feel.
Yeah, I mean, basically that's his kind of opinion. And then Sydney Lemon, who is the wife, she's all about, you got to teach her how to use these powers so she can know how to control them and know what to do with them. And you kind of get both sides, because one, you see what happens to Zac Efron's character when he uses his powers is like he has a very, very bad reaction to it. Nose bleeds, his eyes bleed. It does a lot of serious damage to him. So you get his point of why he wouldn't want to use his powers all the time, but he does on occasion for money, to kind of make it. I will say with this movie, it's perfect on streaming. I don't think you would want to go to the theaters to go see this because of all the things it is. I mean, it is incredibly generic, incredibly bland, in every single way possible. When it comes to the villains, when it comes to the little girl, she's got the bullies and everything like that to instantly sympathize with her. You got the bad government figures that are here. They're just as bad and generic as you see. Then you also have the character of the person who hunts after them, who's the Native American character, who's John Rainbird is the Native American character here in this, who's hunting after them for the shop in order to retrieve the girl alive. Um, a lot of it's all very very basic and stuff you've seen a thousand
Mhm.
times, and that's okay if you can add a nice little spin on it, or if you can have great personality in your movie, which this movie does not. It's just flat, and even in the direction and the look of it, the tone of it. Um, I think some of the performances, I think are fine. I think Zac Efron. I think Zac
Mhm.
Efron's got a lot of potential. I think he's. I
Mhm.
don't think he's only just there to be a good-looking guy. I think he has potential to do some good dramatic work and do good comedy. You saw him when he was
Yeah,
in Neighbors. I thought he was very good in that, very funny in that.
yeah.
And
He's one of those actors that when he hits, he really surprises me with his range in stuff like in Neighbors, in stuff like Greatest Showman, where I thought he was excellent, and even in that Ted Bundy movie he did for Netflix. The movie sucks, but he's legitimately great in it.
yeah, and what was that movie he was in?
Oh, extremely wicked, shockingly evil and vile, and too long of a title.
Yeah, was that the movie where he was like assistant to like Orson Welles, or he was in an Orson Welles movie?
Oh, Me and Orson Welles. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, me and Orson Welles, which I thought he was good in that. I thought he was decent in that. So I think he's got potential for good dramatic work, and I think I've seen him be good at comedy. So it's not that he's not talented. I just think that some of this stuff that he's kind of picking is just isn't really good and isn't really hitting. Stephen King, he's kind of had with his work has had a reemergence now. You see, like with Mike Flanagan, like he does a lot of his Stephen King stuff and he adapts it
Mhm.
wonderfully. And we'll get into that tomorrow when we do like our favorite Stephen King adaptations, and some of Mike Flanagan's work will be
Mhm.
on there. Stuff like Doctor Sleep, stuff like the movie he did with Gina Carano. I mean, not Carano.
Carla Gugino.
Yeah, Carla Gino, where he did that movie with her, Gerald's Game, which is on Netflix.
Mhm.
So he does a lot of great, work with Stephen King work, and then also that also reemerged. That was also very good.
Mhm.
That got brought back. So you kind of see a reemergence of King's work, and people adapt it. Firestarter. I mean, I've seen to go back. I never watched the '84 movie before, so I
Mhm.
actually went back and watched that. After I saw this one. The first one is also not a very good movie either. It's also kind
Mhm.
of very bland as well. I think it has kind of some of the same issues, same problems. I think a little bit that kind of elevates it a little bit is you got a good solid performer, Drew Barrymore, who does a good job as Charlie, and the girl here who plays Charlie in the 2022 version, Ryan Kira. She's good at kind of screaming and yelling, and you see some of the fire effects that look okay for a budget for a movie. If I had to guess the budget on this, I mean, this is Blumhouse, so it's probably like $50.25. Um, that's kind of producing this.
Wikipedia says 12 million, but it was probably the 1 cent you get by purchasing a can of Arizona tea.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, that's what I was gonna guess what the budget was between the 10 million to 15 million range, and some of the fire effects they look good in this 2022
Mhm.
version. They look good. I mean, the other fire effects in '84 was just kind of her just looking, and then some people just getting kind of set on like their arms or legs would kind of get set on fire, and that's kind of about it. And it wasn't really that exciting. This you see her like summon a Hadouken fireball, and then to shoot it at
Mhm.
somebody and things like that. So that's kind of a little bit better. But it's nothing really. This like Firestarter is this great work or great material that you're really remaking or adapting. Just from the '84 movie version. I heard from the novel. The novel is actually very good. I haven't read the novel myself, but I heard the
Mhm.
novel is very good with that. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that this is also in theaters. Yeah, I mean, even though it's in theaters and also on streaming, and say, well, would it be a better option just to sit at home and watch it on streaming? No, not really. Like I said, I think there's other better things to watch on streaming than this. I don't know what else could be on Peacock other than, well, Bel Air, really. I mean, I don't know really much else was on Peacock. I know they're trying to come up in the
Mhm.
streaming service game. Well, I guess if you want to watch the Saved by the Bell reboot, I know that's on there. I haven't watched that.
Mhm.
I hear that's decent, but I heard it got canceled, I think. Yeah, I mean, you're not really missing anything by not seeing this. It's just completely forgettable. I saw this movie last week. I already forgot half the stuff pretty much of what, you know what I mean, about the movie.
Yeah, I tried watching it. I tried watching it last week. I fell asleep. I tried watching it like a couple days ago because I knew we were talking about it on the show, and I still couldn't get through that motherfucker.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Just kind of so many kind of those tropes of, especially when they're on the run and, you meet the kindly
Mhm.
stranger, things like that, which was also in the first film. There's a lot of beats here of this movie that were also in the first film as well. You try to, more kind of modern updated by, kind of with the technology that some of the government people use, which doesn't really kind of work all that much, just with the powers that some of these people have. And when they're going up against other people with power, like the Native American guy, I believe also has like a set of powers and what he can do. It doesn't really work. I don't know how, like, how that kind of works. I don't think it's that well explained. And the ending is just, you know, it just doesn't really also make any sense either of how she was able to do some of the things she was able to do or get into the places she was get into. That also didn't make any sense either. So for me, I would kind of give it a rating of, I think skip it for me. Would kind of be my rating. If I had to go, I mean, I don't think I'd go any harsher with it. Just due to the fact, like I said, I mean, I think the little girl's fine. I think Zac Efron's okay.
Mhm.
You know, the
It
name.
sounds it sounds like it sounds like a case of everything in this movie is fine, it's passable, but there's just that little bit of emotion that's missing with a film like this that you kind of need with this kind of story that I hear is in spades in the book, which just hearing about that sounds disappointing, especially because film is score is composed by John and Cody Carpenter,
Yeah,
which I say what you will about their work on the 2018 Halloween and Halloween Kills. Those scores are incredible.
yeah, yeah.
Does does that stand out in this film at all?
To me, I don't think so really, all that much. And
Hmm.
like you good. Thank you for bringing that up.
That's disappointing.
The score being by John Carpenter. John Carpenter, legendary director. But yeah, that's I don't think that's not very remarkable either. And the actor who's playing the Native American character, John Rainbird, his name is Michael Grey Eyes. Kind of just kind of stereotypical, kind of I think Native American character really in a movie like this, to a
Hmm.
degree. But
I mean,
I
at least they actually cast a Native American actor in this one, unlike the '84 version. Who was that? Was that George C. Scott that was Rainbird in the '84
I
movie?
believe so. I believe so. I think so. That was kind of Joyce C. Scott. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Nah.
Um, so yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think it's still a solid performance by him, Michael Grey Eyes. I still think he does a solid job. Kind of being the stern, assassin guy that's kind of going after him, which I think is, again, that's another trope with these type of movies that you kind of see. So yeah, I would just kind of give it a skip it for me. Yeah, really, really forgettable. Really unremarkable in every single way possible. But I think Zac Efron does a decent job as the dad. I think there's some kind of good moments with him as the dad. What'd you think of Firestarter? Get your thoughts on that.
Uh, I saw both versions.
Yep.
Uh, which one do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the 1984 one, the most recent one?
Just kind of do a mix of both, if you can. Like, how does the 1984 one relate to the 2022 version?
Well, the 1984 one has George C. Scott. It has Drew Barrymore.
Mm-hmm.
It has what's his name? I'm blanking on his name. He was the captain.
The cat.
Michael. He was captain
Uh,
in the 19.
oh, Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen. A lot of great classic, really good actors, and the new version has Zac Efron.
Well, I mean, maybe 20 years
I,
from now, you'll be going like, oh, classic actor Zac Efron. 20, 30 years from now.
I don't get it twisted. I don't dislike Zac Efron, but when you I decided to watch the new one first and then go back and watch the old one.
Mm.
Give the first one a true fair shake. even I didn't even watch the original, the older one, and by the end of this, the new one, the new one's pretty. First of all, the new one's cheap. Right from watching it, you can tell right away. Okay, this is a cheap Blumhouse picture. They did not spend a lot of money on this movie.
Mhm.
You can tell from the fire effects; they're very cut and paste. The same burning effects on zoom in, put a light underneath the plant, burn the leaves a little bit. Oh, we'll put a little bit of fire here, and then we'll start having people die off camera, and then show back up and have like makeup smeared on their body that they got burn marks and stuff. A lot of cutaways,
Yeah.
a lot of cut to different things, and not that many locations. It was, and you can tell, especially near the end of the movie, when at the DSI center. Oh boy, is there a big difference between the DSI center and the new one and the previous one. You can just tell which one had a bigger budget.
Yeah.
You can also tell the quality of acting. With Zac Efron, he is the one who's trying the most out of all of them. He is. There are a couple of scenes in this movie early on, and I almost like Corey from Double Toaster. Where I'm like, "Oh, Zach, you're trying so hard to make this work, but they've got nothing for you. They really have nothing for you in this."
Poor Zachy Poo.
Yeah, it really did feel like that. Oh, poor Zachy Poo. No one is downright terrible, but there's so many lines of dialogue that just feel so unnatural. The little girl is fine, but she never rises above that. You never really feel like this is like a cohesive family in the new one. You never feel like this family is lived a while. You always feel like there's an arm's distance. And while this is the tone the new one kind of takes, I think it ultimately loses something when it gets to the final end. You're supposed to get this feeling that the government has been hounding them always. And the way the movie portrays it in the new one, they portray it, oh, well, she's just a freak. She can do these horrible, awful things. And really, the way they changed Zac Efron's character from the original one, or I'm not even sure which, the way they present him, where he's like, no, she's got to stuff it down. Knowing what his power does, why would you do that? You know this is just going to lead to trouble. It just seemed like a lot of the decisions characters made either didn't make a whole lot of sense or just felt very contrived. Especially when they bring in another character who's a hitman called Rainbird. His motivations in the new one make absolutely no sense. He gets brought in. So is the head of the DSI. This one is like, oh well, I'm a new one. I'm like, so are you making this like a pseudo sequel? Are you doing like a soft reboot? Are you trying to talk about the original one but ignoring that incident? These are the same characters, but they're new. This is like a new story, but with the same characters. And she has nothing to do. She has no character. She has no nuance. At least with Michael Sheen in the previous movie, he was very excited and giddy, and he wanted power, and he wanted to have possession of it. He wanted to study it. There was a clear fascination with him. He was driven by his own desires and his position. And you just can't beat Michael Sheen's acting the way he's acting in that role. And even if it's fairly limited, you can still get a lot of personality from him. In the character of Rainbird, George Scott, he just runs circles around any other actor in that new movie. And in the old one, he is just doing such a great job playing this evil character of Rainbird. He's so good at playing it. There's this wonderful scene where the lights go out, and he's trying to get on the little girl's side, and he's so good at tricking her that you kind of follow with the movie as well. You kind of like he bounces back from being very like Joe Schmo to then being frightened and using that vulnerability to get close to her, and then acting very grandfatherly and kind of weaseling his way in, but making it feel supernatural, very supernatural the way he's doing it. And so you really can see how this guy has been able to do the wet work that he's been able to do. And even if his end goal is crazy, there's something captivating in his performance. The new one, and with the new one, you're just it's so hindered by not only its budget but also the less it wants to give at the end. And I don't know. Nothing beats. I don't know. That seemed pretty sloppy to me. There's a line that's given in the new one when he tells this the girl points to this one employee and goes, "Liar, liar, pants on fire," and like burns this woman to death. And you're like, what am I watching? This doesn't make. This is just so bad. At least in the 1984 one, the dialogue between Drew Barrymore. Say what you will about Drew Barrymore now, she's still kind of a sweetheart. She's had her ups and downs as an actress, but she was a natural actress. It still is a natural actress. She's fantastic as the little girl in the old one, and they pair really well with the actor who plays her father in the old one. They have such great chemistry together that you really feel a father-daughter relationship. You really understand how, like, when he says, like, "Oh, I'm crazy about you," you absolutely can tell that he cares. Absolutely, his whole mind is protecting his daughter, and that's where the real crux of it. But you really don't get that in the new one. Zac Efron plays very, like, hands off with this kid. He plays very like, you're kind of dangerous, and you need to own up to doing things, but you shouldn't hurt people. And at the very end, he's like, "Nah, never mind. You gotta hurt people." Yeah. What's going on? What's going on? And even the only good thing I'll say about the new one is that it had John Carpenter did the soundtrack for it, and it's not bad for John. But even for John Carpenter, it's a weak soundtrack. There wasn't a lot of standout musical score. Which, if you compare it to the old version, John Carpenter also did some of the soundtrack for the older version. He was actually originally set to direct it, but he got pulled off the project. You can still tell some influence in that when you watch it. It does have a very John Carpenter feel to it. I wonder how long it was into production. But in his place, along with some of the music he did written in the original, they got Tangerine Dream. And you're not going to beat Tangerine Dream in their peak. I'm sorry. They were the kings of 80s synth back in the day. You're not going to beat that. And there's really a lot of moments in that original movie where I was like humming. I'm like, I need to get this soundtrack. This is really good. This really sets up a scene really well. If I had to rate the new one, I would say it's a skip it. You really don't need to see it. There's not much here. Not much there to see it. I'm being honest. There's not much.
I gave it the same rating. I gave it a skip it.
For the old one though, if you don't mind some cheese, and there's a lot of cheese in it, you don't mind some cheesy acting, some cheesy set pieces, but kind of want a little more pulled back Stephen King. Kind of like it's a bit of an underrated Stephen King movie. Check out the 1984 version. I think you'd be surprised how competent it actually is. And that soundtrack and the acting, there's some good quality little scenes there, little moments, and especially between Drew Barrymore and George C. Scott and Drew Barrymore and her father. They're just really great reactions between the two, and just having the caliber of actors in there as well, along with Michael Sheen, who just plays a great slime ball. It may not be as nuanced as you might like, but hey, that's Stephen King. Stephen King don't play nuance a lot. He's usually pretty black and white. One of my favorite lines is from the grandpas in the older version where they're just like, go take after he's been shot, go take the Jeep. Go take the whole Jeep. She's like, no. His wife's like, no, don't take it. And he goes, what are you going to want me to do? I got shot on my own property. They didn't have a warrant. And they showed him, we've already seen all this. What? What do you want me to look away at this point? Be a good Nazi? It's like, you're like, all right, old man, all right. At least he was likable. I mean, try as he might. Oh my god, I missed that. Yeah, there's like a useless old guy and his wife in the new one. They could totally just skip that. It doesn't even matter. So yeah, check out the old one. Give it a shot. 1984. If you can find it, I would recommend it.
Yeah.
It's not. I definitely stream it for that one.
Yeah, it's right on Peacock along with the new one. You can watch it right there if you have the Peacock service, which is the Peacock is free, by the way. It's free. So you can just subscribe to it for free. Watch it if you want to check it out. 1984 version of it.